A very good evening and a very warm welcome to everyone once again to Vestralex free online community classes on law. This is a free legal literacy initiative aimed at helping raise legal education and at parity across India. So, this is only possible because of the humble and kind contribution of our seniors and our respected colleagues at the bar, at the bench, and from everywhere, experts of law, experts in various other fields of knowledge, professional education, so to say. So today, once again, we have a very unique topic with us, and we have a fantastic faculty to help enlighten us with respect to this. So we're going to be discussing medical and industrial hemp versus what exactly is the legal position and status in that respect with Mr. Deven Khanna. A little bit about Mr. Khanna before we hand over the class to him. So he is a free thinker, he's a backpacker, he's a lawyer, and he's constantly working on human rights, civil liberties, and environmental law. Mr. Khanna is engrossed in a lifelong pursuit of legal education. He practices in the High Court of Himachal Pradesh and represents clients in various quasi-judicial authorities, including the State Consumer Redressal Commission, State Service Administrative Tribunal, as well as Electricity Tribunal, and the National Green Tribunal as well. Mr. Khanna has been instrumental in policy formation for legalization and commercial use of hemp in Himachal Pradesh, both through litigation and working as a member of the Himachal Cannabis Committee constituted by the Legislative Assembly of the state. His consultancy extends to compliance for matters under land laws in Himachal Pradesh, including property purchase and lease. He also specializes in compliance for the hemp cannabis industries in Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, and he's working closely with the Excise Department, the Ayush and Horticulture Department for compliance, permission, and licensing. So, with that, Devenji, it's a fantastic privilege to have you on this meeting and to be guiding us on this very unique topic. And I humbly request you to kindly enlighten us further and let us know what exactly is this unique concept of hemp, what exactly are the law, how exactly the law plays, and howsoever you think better to let us know about this.
Yes, thank you for having me here. I will start with telling you about how this case in Himachal started and how the High Court paved the way for the Himachal government to eventually now think of coming out with a policy, and that also a wholesome policy. So this subject is actually, there are a lot of taboos with respect to cannabis, and it is because the recreational use of cannabis does have a harm, and the first harm is, of course, cognitive harm, which is there, and the second, the greatest harm, is the law, which is the law of the land, which is the NDPS Act. So if anybody, before starting this discussion, I have to tell everybody that indulging in use of cannabis invites punishment, which is very heavy punishment under the NDPS Act. For small quantities, the punishment is till 6 months or 10,000 fine, and if it is less than 100 grams, and if it is between 100 grams and 1 kg, it will be intermediate quantity, and the punishment can go up to 10 years, and above 1 kg, it can go above 10 years. It's minimum 10 years. So there is a considerable risk, even if you are involved in the business of cannabis, even if you are involved in medicinal purposes of cannabis, if you don't have proper licenses, proper permissions. And of course, recreational is totally not allowed. Having said that, now I'll discuss how and what we are seeking we were seeking from the court and what we were seeking from the government. So if I have to tell you about the laws and the ideas of liberty which we want to attract, or we want to implement, and we are asking for a reform and amendments in NDPS Act, which is based on our ideas of constitutional guarantees which are provided in Article 21, 29, and 19, and also our understanding of religious practices and other customary practices which needs to be protected. So why all these acts and why the constitution is attracted in case of cannabis is because cannabis has multiple uses. There is a recreational use, as everybody knows, and for sure India only knows that. But we have medicinal use, we have industrial use. Medicinal use is quite interesting because human being has an endocannabinoid system which is receptors in our nervous system which only respond to cannabinoids. So cannabinoids are compounds in the cannabis plant, and our body also produces these cannabinoids, and they have been recently been discovered by Israeli scientists, and they have named the compound which the body produces as anandamide. It is derived from a Sanskrit word ananda, which is bliss, amide, the study and the implication of compounds on the factor of nervous system or the nervous receptors which produce bliss. So why I'm saying this is because now we have a lot of proven results and proven. There are 60 peer-reviewed studies, which I have also quoted in my petition to the High Court, where we have showed to the High Court and now even to the government that there are many diseases which, and some of them are very serious diseases which don't have alternatives, and they are cured by the use of a hemp plant or a cannabis plant, uh, cannabis plant. So I will just say that cannabis and hemp in the NDPS Act is used interchangeably, but internationally hemp is used in a different way. Every jurisdiction has a different way of defining a particular thing. So hemp in Indian context means cannabis only. So I am using it interchangeably. But when you are talking to people in America or in other countries, they don't use cannabis when they are talking about medicinal hemp. So what I was saying is that there are a lot of diseases like epilepsy is there. There is cancer, and cancer is not proven clinically, but what evidence we have is that there are a lot of testimonials of patients around the world, and the number of testimonials we have of people getting treated of cancer by use of this compound, by use of this plant, they are staggeringly high and cannot be ignored. So there is this. Then there is proven results of treating epilepsy, and there are FDA approved drugs in America which are used for treating epilepsy. One is called Epidiolex. In France, you have Sativex, which is also medicinally recognized in that country. So, and in India now, we have an Ayurvedic system. Our drugs are controlled by Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940. We have systems of medicine, which is allopathy and Ayurveda, and this homeopathy. So in Ayurveda, we have the mention of cannabis since the starting or supposedly the starting from 4,000 years. It dates back to the Ayurvedic text where cannabis is mentioned with four other plants, with barley and millet and two other plants. And it is being shown in folklores to uh, used as it is being used as a medicine. Like there are stories of one of the gods getting sick and he is administered cannabis plant, and these stories, they carry forward this knowledge in form of stories of how the usage of the plant has been there in our history. And apart from that, apart from the folklore, we have Ayurvedic text where different mixes of with cannabis plant of other plants are given to cure diseases, and we use this data still. Ayush department of the government will recognize a medicine as an Ayurvedic medicine depending upon these historical texts which already give the medicinal usage of the plant. So this is one part of it. So I'm just explaining you that this is one of the properties of cannabis, and hence there is a need of applying the constitutional rights, because this plant can be used as a medicine. So right to health directly is can be invoked. And second is the industrial use. Now industrial use is also is should be covered. If something is, you can fairly trade in it, it is covered under 191G, as you all may know. So the industrial application of this plant goes from producing clothes to biodegradable alternatives to plastic, to cladding material, to even alternative to wood. I'll just show you this one coaster I use. So if you see this alternative to plastic and wood, which is used for cladding and also used for making vessels, utensils, and it is very hard, and it is an alternative which can be there for plastic. So, and other applications include food. Its seeds are used for fiber. Seeds are used as food. Traditionally in Himachal, it is being used as a food supplement, and in traditional cuisines since time immemorial. So and now what we have, the data which we have now from past 10 years, the international community in different countries, they have passed laws to accommodate the industrial usage of hemp plant and also medicinal usage of hemp plant. There are about 38 states in the United States of America which have made medicinal cannabis legal. There are around 40 countries, prominent countries, which have medicinal cannabis legal, and most of the countries have medicinal cannabis legal since 2000 or even 90s. And industrial cannabis has never been banned in some countries. For example, China has never banned industrial cannabis. 70% of industrial cannabis trade is done by the Chinese, and Controlled Substances Act of 1961 to change their laws. So I'll just tell you the history now of the law, how it has come. So the history of drug laws is very checkered, as you might know. Some of you might know that in 1882 there was an Opium Act which came in the United States, and 1857 also there was a Opium Act. But initially, Opium Act was formulated to control the opium trade, because most of the opium trade was done by the Chinese, and the whites in America didn't have to control the plant, to control the population. The first act which came was the Opium Act in 1909, I think, in America, which actually was based on racial lines to them more control over the plant and over the populace mostly. And people, because in the act itself it was mentioned that the non-whites will not be incriminated by the application of that act. So it was totally a racial profiling was done. And in 1930s, then there was another act which came. It was Dangerous Drugs Act, which also included cannabis in it. And cannabis that time was being used by mostly black people, and they wanted to target the black people. There were a lot of stories of cocaine, Negroes, and marijuana being used by Mexicans and the blacks. So they wanted to control blacks and Mexicans and the Chinese. So they had exclusion of white people getting incriminated by these acts. So it has a racial history, though, that has to be kept in mind, because ultimately when we are interpreting our own legislation, apart from, of course, we will apply everything. I'll go into how proportionality applies, how the purposive definition of purposive interpretation of NDPS Act has to be evolved. We will go into our own understanding and our own tools of interpretation, but we should also not forget the genesis of the drug laws. And before that, we have to understand what was our society before this, before the drug laws. And thousands of years before the drug laws, we had the use of cannabis, as medicine, as Ayurvedic medicine, as clothes, as food. Its seeds were used for food, its stems and its leaves were used for medicines and fiber, and the flower was also used for medicine. And also recreational was there, always. For they used it for spiritual and whatever purposes, even abused it. If regular use of cannabis, of course, is an abuse. So that all was there, but it was never a problem in the society that it had to be thought of to be banned. In India, we had the first proper commission which was set up to study the effect of cannabis and deal with the questions of whether you should ban it or not, was done by the British Hemp Commission report in the 1880s. So that commission was quite significant, and actually he the copy of the report is lying in Shimla itself, in the library here in Shimla. And the report is very detailed. It was a 10-year study done on whether the cannabis should be banned, what is the inclusion of cannabis, what is the use of cannabis, and what is the impact of cannabis, and how intrinsically it is woven into the fabric of the society. So all these questions were raised by the commission for itself and answered by the commission, and eventually it came out with an answer that we cannot ban cannabis because it is a part of the lives of the people here. It is an intrinsic part of the culture, and there is no harm which is shown enough to ban it. So this was the result of the Hemp Commission report when the studies were done. So now when our act was formed, our act came in 1985. So when the rules came in 1985, the rules are even more dangerous. But the NDPS Act itself, when it came, it was discussed in the parliament. I think in 14th November it was discussed, and Gyani Jayal Singh was the president, and Mr. Rajiv Gandhi was the prime minister at that time. And they had huge pressure from the US, because US till that time in international community, we had Controlled Substances Act of 1961, which, as I told you earlier, from Dangerous Drugs Act of 1930. Then there was a single convention which was made to sign by the US in the United Nations, and it was introduced to most of the nations in 1961, where in Controlled Substances Act, it is mostly like the NDPS Act, and it was forced down the throat of all the countries. So in India resisted for 20 years. There was a resistance, but in when the NDPS Act was passed in 80s, there was not much discussion in the parliament, which is very surprising, because when the Britishers wanted to ban the use of cannabis plant, they had a 10-year study done on it. But NDPS Act, when it was passed, it didn't have much discussion. There was only one voice, I think, which was raised opposing it, but it was mostly passed without any discussion in the parliament. So one of the biggest problems which has evolved and has arisen and even strengthened by the courts and not looked upon by the legislators is the categorization of drugs in Schedule 1 of the 1985 rules. So the Schedule 1 is contains the most harmful substances according to the Act. And cannabis is mentioned in serial number 2, I think, below cocoa plant, and above heroin. So this is a huge problem, because categorizing cannabis and heroin and cocaine in one category in Schedule 1 and imposing same punishments and same restrictions and same regulations, very similar. There are certain differences, which also I'll tell you. But the main point is that you have put them in one category, which is irrational, which is not studied of properly. There is no research, there is no data behind it, there is no rational behind it. It is not proportionate, it is excessive. All the constitutional doctrines which hit upon a statute to make it to be quashed, they all are there, because you cannot compare heroin and cannabis and cocaine and you cannot have them in one category. And the effect of having them in one category poses a great challenge for curtailing the harmful drugs. For example, if you get same punishment for heroin and cocaine and cannabis, so the drug dealers are incentivized to deal in harder drugs also, because there is same punishment. And secondly, when you deal cannabis like heroin, you what you do is that there are so many restrictions, and the punishment is so hard that you actually invite the hardened criminals to do the cannabis trade. So that is what we have seen in Himachal. This is, I'm talking from the experience, that the cannabis market here has grown exponentially. You used to get the cannabis initially for free or like for very less amount, but now the cannabis market is directly in relation inverse directly related to the restrictions which we have imposed. The price of charas is increasing because the risk which is associated with dealing with charas is also increasing. So first of all, you are inviting the hardened criminals to deal in these substances, and because there is so much risk in it, the price of the charas is very high. And when the price of the charas is very high, the people are incentivized to deal in it, because if you can sell charas for 4,000, 5,000 tola in Himachal, then a person can actually earn 5,000 per day, because that is what it takes for them to produce the substance. So what I'm saying is that restrictions has also, the experience of this act, at least for this state, has been that I have gone through the data of ndps narcotics department for Himachal, and how this trade has increased exponentially. So you can see that now thousands and thousands of crores are being dealt by the black market. And this is because of the risk associated with charas. The prohibition has increased the risk, and risk has increased the price. Price has incentivized the villages, or even the people from outside who are coming here and dealing with it. So black market is a direct result, if I may so.
All right, just a second. I think we'll be right back. Yes. So hi everyone. Just a second. So बेसिकली अगेन हम जो भी बातें कर लें, कुछ भी पढ़ लें, सीख लें, समझ लें, रहते हैं हम हिंदुस्तान में, हिंदुस्तानी हैं, और लाइट कट्स हमारे यहाँ एक बहुत पुराना एक फिनोमिना है. आई थिंक वी ऑल ग्रोन अप विद दैट. So we'll continue this conversation very shortly. Mr. Khanna is going to be joining us. So he's had a light cut over there. So he'll be joining us again shortly in this respect. I understand that the topic was getting very heated and very interesting. But absolutely, I understand. So far, what I've been able to understand is that again, there is a history that we've seen with respect to how how cannabis and hemp has been seen so far. Along with that, what I've been able to understand is the one very prominent thing which I think he mentioned, that prohibition has very adversely impacted the entire trade aspect of it, whatever is. I think same has been applicable across the world. Whenever there is some kind of prohibition, then somehow there's always an upsurge because people see avenues of making money from it. So apart from that, again, my curiosity still lies to the medicinal aspects of it. Mr. Khanna was kind enough to mention the relative aspects of how it has been, how cannabis has been, mentioned in our ancient texts. So again, I one thing which actually kind of gets me curious is that what exactly are the studies that have been done with respect to both pro and con, that whatever is in favor and whatever is against. So again, I don't believe at all that there should be anything which should be left without a research. If there is something which is being done, if we have some kind of opportunity with respect to analyzing and evaluating anything for that matter of fact for the betterment of humanity, then at least some diligent and adequate uh, uh, research needs to be done. So, and until and unless there is no research, I don't believe that anything should be written off immediately as per whatever it is. But I also understand the fact that a lot of countries internationally are recreationally they're accepting. But still, one thing which matters to me and bothers me is because I understand that there is this element of industrial use of hemp, that it has been used instead of jute for making ropes, for making a lot of how do I say, environmentally conscious products. So Devenji is back,
Yes.
and Devenji again, yeah, it's really fantastic. So we
I'm
were just
sorry.
discussing that
Yeah.
that we're still living in India, and technology, even though it has had such wonderful possibilities, it has made these things possible, that we are sitting. I am sitting in Delhi. I think we have people from across India sitting over here, and again, more so number of people will be watching on YouTube. Yet, whatever
Yes.
challenges are there, they're there. So we just took
And Himachal
yeah,
is the
please.
one which is Himachal is supplying electricity to Delhi and all the other places. So yeah,
Yeah, so I think probably with respect to the environmental laws also, we'll have to have some kind of discussions in the future.
for
So
sure,
please,
for
you
sure.
continue. I was just discussing, we were just having a short, we were just revising all the things that you've mentioned so far, and we were looking at the industrial as well as the medicinal aspects as to what are the researches in that respect. Also, very curious. Please,
Yes.
kindly request to take forward.
Yes, so I spoke about the Israeli research. Israel is really far ahead in research for medicinal cannabis. They have hospitals which are treating clients, patients for cancer and epilepsy, and uh, they are researching on various compounds of cannabis. It's not only, there are various compounds in cannabis. One is THC, which is having the psychoactive properties and which is specifically mentioned in the Schedule 1 of the 1985 rules. So that is the one compound which is considered as a narcotic compound and which is banned. But there are 100 other compounds on which the research is highly recommended because some of the countries have found cures by the use of those other compounds. Cannabidiol is one of them, CBD, and there are various other CBN, CB1. There are various compounds. So like anandamide, which was also discovered by Israel, is also, they use the Sanskrit term Anand for that, which to give some homage to India. So that is being used or studied upon because we have an endocannabinoid system which is made in our in our nervous system. Endocannabinoid system only reacts to the cannabinoids which are either in this plant or produced by the body itself, and the body produces this anandamides in various phases. For example, for stress and for anxiety, which we go through in our daily lives. So we have this nervous system which keeps us calm, and also helps the neurons to fire in a proper way. So this research is there in Israel. There's a lot of doctors who have come out with papers. I have gone through 60 research papers, which I have also filed in the High Court and also given to the government, which are peer reviewed. I can share those also. This is open resource, so I can share this. And so this is what is happening with the medical cannabis. So I was telling you about the evolution of the law, because we have to understand that what is the requirement for us now, because we as individuals, we want our fundamental rights not to be sacrificed at the altar of regulations and at altar of disproportionate acts. And I personally believe NDPS Act is a disproportionate, it causes a disproportionate harm to individuals. So individual rights are sacrificed in its application, and also how the judgments have evolved it with respect to medicine and with respect to the industrial use. So in 1985, when we passed this act, initially we gave a definition of the compounds which we will be making illegal. So in the definition clause itself, we have definition of charas, which is the resin of the plant, and we have definition of ganja, which is the flower of the plant. So ganja and charas, and the liquefied form of charas is hashish. So these three things are something which is banned by India specifically, okay, of cannabis plant. Apart from this, the other parts of the plant were actually left out, and our cultural heritage played a huge role in it, because bhang was used as a sacrament and as a in ritualistic use for Lord Shiva or other deities. That the culture was so strong that we did not ban the leaves of the plant, even the fiber and the seeds that we kept out of the definition of the cannabis plant, uh, which were restricted. So now that is very important, because now we have whatever rules and regulations which we see right now presently in different states, they are based upon the leaves, on the products which are made out of leaves and the seeds and the fiber. And that is also what we are also trying, but we are also expanding the definition, because we want that the definition should not be on the parts of the plant, on based on the parts of the plant, but it should be based upon the use. Because if you see the aims and objectives of NDPS Act, it says that the purpose of NDPS Act is to ban illicit trafficking of drugs. So that is very clear that if you are dealing with illicit trafficking of drugs, then you are doing something which can be penalized by the NDPS Act. And for example, if you are dealing in commercial quantities of cannabis, so one thing which needs to be proven in court is the commercial aspect of it. You have to show that there was some commerce involved in it. The person who is who is being charged, accused, the police has a duty to go and find out evidence that he was involved in the selling of it, the commercial use of it. Why I'm saying so is because we have seen in Himachal, in some of the orchards here, you see sometimes cannabis grows by itself because it is grass, it just spreads. And most of the times we have seen that people whose farms are here, they're not even here. They keep some Nepali people here, and they are sometimes abroad. And eventually when they come back, they find out that there is a lot of cannabis which is growing in their land. So if I had one case where somebody complained against this one person who was not living here, he was in America, and there was cannabis growing on his field. And the police officer came there, he cut down all the cannabis, collected it, weighed it, and put the case of commercial quantity. So what we were saying in the court is that for commercial quantity to apply, section 37 to apply, it's such a strong section. It is very you can get punishment for more than 10 years, and if there is a repeated offense, there is even death penalty which is mentioned there. So for such kind of a section to be imposed on a person, the standards of proving the application of the section is very high. So commercial activity has to be proved. Just recovery is not enough, in my opinion, which I think is a rational understanding of section 37, because it has a significant impact on person's life, social, cultural, and of course his freedom also. So when the courts are doing scrutiny of it, they have to see what is the meaning of commercial quantity written in it. So in same manner, I am saying the objective of the NDPS Act is also, in its aims and objective, is mentioned as illicit trafficking of drugs. You can target that, but targeting that has to be done in a very narrow manner, so that it does not infringe or is intrusive towards persons' liberties and freedoms. So now why I'm saying so is because we have medicinal use and industrial use of this plant. And if we want the industry to be set up and this country to actually use and flourish in these two sectors, we need to provide security to the companies, to the startups who will come and who will invest a lot of money building their empire on industrial cannabis or medical cannabis. They cannot be subjected to scrutiny by NDPS department, because if you are setting up an industry, your direct relation should be with the agricultural department, horticulture department, or the excise. Okay, and your compliances are met in accordance with the rules which, or the policy which will come out. But the major response, the major power over your activities will not be of the narcotics department, but should be of the agriculture department and of the excise and the horticulture and Ayush probably, or the drug controller and the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. So but right now this is not the position. The position is that NDPS department controls these activities also, which I certainly think we need an amendment to the NDPS Act. We have had amendments in IPC and all those other CCRPC. What we really need is an overhaul of the NDPS Act, and specifically to promote industrial cannabis and medicinal cannabis, because the industry is huge right now in the world. Industrial cannabis market is a 30,000 crore rupee market, which is expected to grow 4 times by 2027, 2028. In the medical cannabis market is 100 crore rupees market, 100,000 crore rupees market, and that will also grow 4 times. So um, as a person from the state Himalayas, we want to take part in this. Okay, that's why this case was also filed in Himachal. I can give you a brief of this case, how it was filed. It was filed in 2017. I went to the court saying that we have rights under the constitution, and the state has a duty to frame policies for industrial and medicinal use. They have been given the power under the NDPS Act, and by not using that power, by the omitting and by this omission of not use of power to frame rules, they are directly impacting my right to health or my right to trade, my right to livelihood. In case of certain villages, this is the only plant which is growing here. The other plants are not growing at all, because we are talking about altitude which is higher than 3,000 meters. So people have to understand that this case is specific for Himachal and Himachal conditions. It is not for Delhi, as people have filed it in other cities and other places. In our case, there are, when I started, there were about 8 lakh farmers who were supporting it from the Kullu Valley. Now we have 560 resolutions of panchayats around Himachal asking for industrial and medicinal trade and medicines to be provided and the trade to be allowed. And they're demanding this regulation. 560 panchayats are lakhs and lakhs of people. So that's why this case was could have been filed in the High Court, and the High Court from the starting took it as a non-adversarial litigation, and how the case went was that it's a social action litigation. The court, the government, the petitioners, even the scientists and other industry people, they are working together to find a solution to this problem. And eventually, the court gave three orders. One order was passed in 2018 by Honorable Justice Karol, who is on the Supreme Court now, and he said that the government should form a committee, an expert committee, and look into the medicinal and industrial use of this plant, even the genetically modified plant or breeded plant with different ratios of THC, probably lower THC, and find out solutions so that a choice is created in the villages to find an alternative source of income. So that is the basic purpose of my petition, that we want to provide an alternative source of income to the farmers, a legitimate source of income, so that we can hope that their next generations probably will not be involved in the black market, and they will choose less riskier option, and include themselves in the society in a less riskier way. Because right now what we have seen is that people from the villages, every family has some person in the prison for 10 years or 8 years, and most of them are between 15 to 30 age group. 90% of cannabis accused and the people the convicts who are in jail are in this age group. So this is very concerning, because this is the age when we go to college and when we are actually making our life, finding jobs, and trying to get a foothold on life. And if this age you send people to jail, then the problem is that when they come out, you're breeding them into criminals, because they meet criminals in the jail. And conditions of the jail is another topic in itself. The human right violations which are happening in the jails is astounding. It's scary. The condition of jails, at least I have gone to all the jails in Himachal, it's shocking. It's gut wrenching. And when you are dealing with cannabis in its and making it equal to heroin and cocaine, and you are imposing punishments and the standards of proof also of heroin and cocaine to cannabis, and where cannabis is being grown naturally around people's houses in Himachal, where they have been involved, they have seen their grandfathers, fathers, using this plant for even clothes to food to even recreational purposes, are now finding themselves in jails for very high punishments, with more than 10 years in most of the cases. So that's why these villages, we have 560 resolutions of these panchayats who are saying at least give us an alternative. Because if you create choice, then only you have some hope. Deterrence is not the solution to everything. And everybody is very fond of it, that deterrence can solve the problems. The problems can be solved by giving alternative choices also to people, and that is the responsibility alternative. So yes, yes. So the court in the first order, it said that you form a committee. Then again, another bench of Honorable Justice Suryakant, they gave state 8 weeks time to frame a policy in the case. I was also surprised, because the courts generally cannot tell the legislature to make a policy. What I was asking was that you have no, under section 10, when you don't use your power, it violates my fundamental right. So you at least have to show me some material that you have made an effort to it. But there was never a problem in the court, because the state government, at that time it was a BJP government, now it's a Congress government, both the parties have supported the cause in Himachal. And they supported the cause in Himachal because we got 560 panchayats to support us. There are lakhs of people. So they want, for politicians, that's what is crucial, the numbers. And for the court, the rights were important, and rights were pretty well demonstrated to the court that this is something which requires intervention. So when these two things happened, I gave 8,000 pages of research in the court, which had briefs of all the cases from United States. That has a case from South Africa. South Africa has legalized the use, even the recreational use. They call it daga. Again, they call cannabis daga, and they have the Supreme Court of South Africa has come out with the judgment where they have included the use and the cultivation of 3 or 4 plants for personal use under the right to privacy. And the right to privacy has been expanded, and personal autonomy has been expanded to an extent that it has been decriminalized, and people can use it in their personal space and grow it also. Same thing happened in Thailand. Thailand released 3,000 of its prisoners for who were in jail. And even the Canada also the same thing happened. People were released from jail. So, but our case is not about recreational use of cannabis, and now neither we are supporting the recreational use. We are demonstrating that this is the situation in other countries. So you have to rethink, because our people are in jail for 10 years when the same act has this kind of laws around the planet. So, because so much injustice is happening to this population who is between 15 to 30, it certainly demands a rethink. So, for this, we have sent pages and pages of recommendations for what all can be amended in the NDPS Act. Now, just coming towards medicinal and industrial use. So, under Section 10, the states have the power in India to regulate the cultivation, processing, manufacturing, warehousing, transportation of cannabis, and excluding charas. So only thing which is excluded is charas. Rest of the plant and rest of the formations, even medicinal cannabis as is defined in the act, is the extract of cannabis plant, extract or tincture of the cannabis plant. Charas is the resin of the cannabis plant, and the difference is the process of how you come out with these tinctures, extract, or the resin. Resin is done in a very rudimentary, natural manner by rubbing the plant, and the scientific process is very detailed of how a particular medicine will be made, either under the Ayurveda system or allopathy system. Now, what we have done is that after this case was filed, the 3 orders we got, one from Mr. Honorable Justice Karo, one from Honorable Justice Suryakant, and one from Honorable Justice Subramanian, Honorable Justice Subramanian. So all these 3 honorable judges are the judges of the Supreme Court now. So they are 3 different benches. Six judges have heard this case and given positive orders, and the present judges also are with this case only. But now the case is actually reached its end, because the government formed the committee, a legislative committee in Himachal Pradesh. It's called HEMP Committee of Himachal, and it has revenue minister, chief parliamentary secretaries, the commissioners of excise, the ministers of horticulture, minister of agriculture, even the MLAs of BJP, who are a part of it. I am also a part of it. I am drafting the policy for cannabis now. So it took like 6 years. The case was filed in 2017. Then 3 orders we had till 2020. After 2020, this committee was eventually formed by the Congress government, by Honorable Chief Minister Sukhwinder Singh Sukhu. So that was a great boost for this issue. So right now, what we did was that I took this committee through all the literature of it, all the scientific papers of it, the projections of the market, which is the most interesting aspect for them. That how much money or revenue the state will earn is the major point which I have to work upon, because this right to health and right to trade and fundamental rights is for the courts. For the society outside the courts, what was relevant was what is the revenue the government will earn. So and there is huge potential for the revenue for the government, and for the state like Himachal, we need something like this to happen for us, because we cannot make this state as totally an industrial state and start earning money, because we have to protect the environment. So this product, you don't have very extensive industry. You can have sustainable practices very easily been incorporated, and this industry can bring in huge amount of money for the state. So that's why I'm also working for it. My reason for working for it is threefold. One is that I am involved in this one of the cases for solid waste management for Himachal. It is a case where continuous mandamus is running, and it is one of the biggest cases for solid waste management, and all the districts of Himachal are being continuously monitored by the High Court, and we keep on giving suggestions and of all the situations which are there in different places to show the plastic problem which we are facing, because all the plastic and garbage is going in the streams, and these streams are actually feeding India, and the drinking water of all the places is contaminated. It's a very sad state of affairs when it comes to water. So that is a different topic altogether, a very big topic, and even more important topic than this. So what solution cannabis provides is that cannabis provides us with alternative to plastic. It provides us construction material which is an alternative to cement. Then the buildings which will be made of hemp crate, that can those will be able to earn carbon credits. If cultivation of cannabis is there, then state will earn carbon credits. So this is one of the aspects. Because of pollution, I was into it. Second is the condition of course, the prisoners and the villagers who are in prison, young people. They're mostly they are young, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds. So for them to provide an alternative choice, to think like that, to don't have a mindset of deterrence towards this group of people, a young group of people, and having this hard mentality of to punish them, and think that whatever is happening here is a crime against society. Most of them are trying to make their ends meet, and because of lack of opportunity and such a lucrative opportunity with the black market, because it is so risky that the price is so high, that they can really earn very quickly. So that we have to target the black market. We don't have to target the plant if we have to be serious about this problem. We are not serious about this problem. Just by increasing the punishment and looking at deterrence is not something which shows that we are serious about this problem, because what shows us that you are not serious is your data. I have taken the data from the NDPS department, and you should too. See how the graph of cannabis or the cultivation of cannabis, and even the profit margins and the money which the black market is having right now, how the graph has gone. It has gone more vertical than the Bitcoin. I'll tell you that. It has gone like a rocket, and thousands and thousands of crores of black market is there. So it is a joke when somebody says that deterrence is something which is working. I'll tell you very clearly and very frankly, because somebody has to say it, that when you have thousands of crores which are coming in the black market, then you have involvement of authorities, you have involvement of executives, because every village can pay off. Because if you are earning thousands of crores, how much money is to be paid off is also factored in. So that's why it's everything is working in a very cozy environment, and sometimes people just get unlucky who are targeted, and who are in jail. So all that is happening, and but the no solution is there in sight from the current practices. So this is what we are saying, that you at least start with regulating the medicinal and industrial use, because that also involves other fundamental rights, and certainly you should not be blocking these two. First of all, you are failing in your drug control policies, and you have also made it so impossible for industries and for doctors and for patients to exist in the ecosystem which you have created. So that's why rethinking has to happen, had to happen, and that's why I was in this case. And also now, if this happens, if industrial and medicinal cannabis is provided, what I vision for Kullu and for the state is that we will have wellness clinics where the next generation of farmers will be interacting with the Ayurvedic doctors, which are numerous in India, which are recommending cannabis. even other doctors which are dealing with cancer. There's doctors in Kerala which are treating cancer from cannabis. I have met very senior doctors who have given me the details of patients they have treated. 3,000 of patients in one of the places in Kerala where people were treated. So I vision that for Himachal, that if Kullu and Malana and Kasol and all these places, Parvati Valley, can have wellness clinics, it'll be great, because then there'll be a respect for the people who are living there, and an opportunity to have that respectful life. Drug dealing might give you money, but it is a very tough life, and it is a risky life, and it is not something which people really want. I have gone to the places where this cultivation is happening, and tell me one thing, like if a person like me, who I have no relation with with enforcement agencies, or I don't know even how to investigate or anything, if you go as a layman to these places, you can actually see where the cultivation is happening and how the drug business is actually going on. So if the authorities were really serious about controlling the drug problem, that they would know exactly where it is growing, how it is going, and where it is going, what time of the year it is going, what time of year it is being planted. So it wasn't very difficult for anybody to analyze. I was analyzing it for the purpose of setting up industrial and medicinal cannabis, and it took me 1 week to get the whole picture in front of me. So now, why this Malana and all this region, we need to have an alternative in place, is because the other plants are not growing there. In 2010, they introduced peas in Malana, and the crop never happened. For 2 years, they were just waiting for it, and their salaries never came. Their income never, they didn't generate any income. So and they are not very rich of, they are trying to make their ends meet, and so it was a considerable amount of harm which was done by that policy. So now that's why we are saying that you have this kind of arrangement, and you give out licenses so that industrial and medicinal cannabis can be done by people of this state, and they have an alternative source of income. And in future, probably we will have a hope that they will shift from the black market, because the risks involved in black market are humongous, to industrial and medicinal one. So that is the idea. So now I can take you to the act. We have also proposed certain amendments to the NDPS Act. We want NDPS Act to give definition for medicinal cannabis according to the purpose of the material. For example, if the cannabis plant is being used for medicinal purpose, that should be enough for the definition to include it and give it the protection of medicinal cannabis. It cannot be made into THC, CBD, CBN, because THC is also being used in treating a lot of medicines. So that's the point, that when you are also using compounds in cocaine and morphine and opium for treating, and you are defining them as medicines, and you're using them as opioids as medicines. Now, if for cannabis, you cannot ban THC just because it is in Schedule 1. And certainly you cannot ban any other compound, because all the other compounds are non-narcotic. So there has to be a clarity that all these other compounds, if you are dealing with it, you will be provided security by the state, and you will not be harassed by NDPS, narcotics department. So this is something we want to give a shelter in our policy. Right now, the policy which I am drafting, it has what I have tried to put into it is a clear definition of medicinal cannabis, clear definition of industrial cannabis, and for the people who are concerned with the misuse and diversion of it, there is a mechanism as best as we can put to, so that that doesn't happen. But just because the fear that it will be diverted or misused, it cannot be banned. That is the point that everybody has to understand, that they cannot say that it can be misused, so because of the harm it should be banned, because that kind of a principle is not applied to anything else. If you want to protect people from the misuse of it, you have other mechanisms of protection. For example, if you are cultivating medicinal cannabis, it will be indoors, it will be under cameras, Before the harvest, you have to tell the authorized officer of that area, the excise officer of that area, to come and visit before the harvest, before the flowering happens, because it's only in the flowers that you have the narcotic compound. So it can be under checks, okay, but it cannot be totally be prohibited or unreasonably be restricted that the industry doesn't flourishes at all. I'll give you some numbers of the industries which I have taken from the industry. I'll give you a difference first between industrial and medicinal cannabis. So the regulation for industrial cannabis is 14, and for medicinal it is 10. For application, industrial hemp is for industrial and horticulture purposes. Medicinal is for scientific and medical. Scientific licenses also we will offer. Medical licenses for making the medicines also we will offer. Industrial licenses we will offer, and horticulture also we will offer. And for setting up clinics, warehousing, for permits, so from cultivation to manufacturing to extraction to warehousing to transporting and to export and import as far as state is allowed, that kind of a regulation is eventually I am working upon now this year. Before this, we were just fighting in the courts and trying to get some support and all. But eventually, now this has happened that I have been made a member of the Legislative Assembly, and I'm bringing all this research which I have done so that everybody gets, aware of it. I have taken people, this committee to Uttarakhand, to Madhya Pradesh this year to show them what is happening there. In Uttarakhand, there is a center of aromatic plants where we went and where the research on cannabis is happening. So most of the people here, the first time saw cannabis being used for something else, apart from charas, which they only knew of charas. So whenever you're talking about cannabis, you see some people just laughing or taking it very in a nonchalant way, because that is the attitude. But when you meet any cancer patient or breast cancer patient, you meet breast cancer patients, and they will tell you stories that will send shivers down your spine, because they are being deprived of something which is curing them, and they know that it is curing them, and they have a very serious outlook towards cannabis. It's not like it's a funny topic. And when you meet industry people, the very young industry people are into this business, and there are 75 companies. It's 100 crore rupee industry right now in India, which is nothing. It's nothing. It can be thousands of crores if the security by regulations is provided. And so that is what I am doing right now, I'm hoping that my policy, because I am just one of the members of the committee, I have been given the task of making the policy, but this policy will be changed by the officials who are there in the excise and other departments. But as far as I am concerned, I will share the draft with everybody eventually, of what I think should be how this plan should be dealt. I personally propose that there should be a dedicated board in Himachal which is dealing with this plant, which has members from horticulture, Ayush, from revenue, and also from excise. So because you need to give a single window system to the startups which are coming here who want to invest in it. You want to provide them land, you want to provide them security, you want to provide them that they won't be harassed by narcotics department, and they can run business smoothly. Because eventually what do we want? We want the industry to be successful, and we want the state to be successful, and then only the farmers and individuals who are here, they can hope for a good life. So that is the idea. So now this plant is used for seeds, fibers, stalks, and leaves. If the industrial one, both the seed is used as a food material, fibers, stalks, and leaves. Medicinal cannabis, leaves and flowers are only ones which are used. I'll tell you that in medicinal cannabis, on the buds of the cannabis plant, there are trichomes which contain all the compounds. So if you extract those trichomes, and if you can use those for Ayurvedic or allopathic medicines, that is something which we want to do here. And I personally think that we should not get any problems, and we should not be getting problems from any department, including narcotics, and the courts also. They should understand this difference. Yes. So now THC limit in industrial cannabis, because industrial cannabis has to be grown outside in open. So there is a danger that if you allow cannabis cultivation outside, then it will spread and it will be misused and it will be diverted. So for industrial cannabis, we want the THC to be low and CBD to be high. So you have industrial cannabis where generally, I'm just talking about approximation, where CBD is 10 to 15% or higher, and THC is below 2%, 1.5%. It is below than that. So this cannot be used for recreational purposes, or like it is very bad. You can know this from just experience that people are smoking cannabis from Malana because there that these trichomes, they contain very high amount of THC from 11 to 15% probably, or like high THC. Now they don't smoke cannabis from other places where the THC is very low because it's just grass. So now industrial cannabis has been bred to lower the THC level to an extent that it cannot be used for recreational purposes. So we want to allow industrial cannabis in various places of Himachal because of lot of benefits of it. One is that this is might be amusing for rest of India, but one of the greatest problems in the Himachal is of monkeys and animals which actually eat the plants and or the crop of the farmer, and it is a extremely serious problem. It is extremely serious problem. They cannot grow plants, and plant is not used by the monkeys, so it is protected from the monkeys. So this is one of the things. Other thing is that the barren lands which are there, it's very easy to grow cannabis in barren lands. It requires very less maintenance and less. It has less requirements. Less water also is required, and it from cotton, I think it 8 times less water is required from cotton. So cotton is a high water intensive crop. Cannabis is not. And the land which is destroyed because of fertilizers, the cannabis plant can actually help it, because we have examples of cannabis plant being used in the world in different places where nuclear disasters have happened to remedify the land. It soaks up the poison from the toxins from the land. That's why even if somebody told me, I don't know if it's correct or not, but they said that the word charas comes from charnoka ras because it soaks up the poison from the land. So but in Chernobyl we have seen this being used around the nuclear power plant, which there was a disaster. So they are planting cannabis to rejuvenate the plant. So THC limit for industrial cannabis will be 1%, 1.5% or less. But for medicinal, there will be no limit of THC because we need THC for medicines also, and CBD for medicines also. But now we have to see how, there are a lot of complications in it. But medicinal cannabis will be grown in polyhouses. It will have a lot of checks of, the video cameras will be there, and before the harvest, and you have to tell the excise authorities, and there are 15, 20 checks which we have placed. So that's what makes a policy rational, reasonable. My lawyer friends will be knowing Wednesbury's reasonable principle, which should apply to all the legislations and sections. It should be proportional. Now, if you want to check the drug problem, you cannot disallow medicines. Drugs are available in the society, medicines are not. So can you understand the irrationality in this? So now for the medicines, we need to provide these checks, not banning it or like controlling it in a way that you kill the industry which is trying to make the medicine. We want the industry to function and prosper and fulfill our desire of controlling and checking and regulating by providing these checks. You can tell them that you tell us before the harvest is happening. You keep a camera running. You provide the videos when we need. You weigh the plant. You weigh the green material. You separate the flowers. There are hundreds of checks, and I put them so that they are satisfied. So yeah, this is one of it. I'm using a lot of time. Oh, it's already 7, so I'll just quickly go through it. There's actually a lot to talk about. It's the policy is a 100-page policy. I have got 20 objectives written in it, and we had also one of the very interesting things which we have already done is that we are trying to get our intellectual property rights over the strains of the plant. So what we have done is we have collected the cannabis germplasm. I have involved this Palampur University and Nani University, which are two major universities in Himachal. I had proposed their names to do these four things, which I think are extremely important. And this feedback has been given to me by industries in America and also in India, that collection of cannabis germplasm, characterization and evaluation of germplasm for agromorphological, psychological, and biochemical attributes, identifications of lines with high, low THC and high fiber, initiation of standardization or agro techniques for cultivation of cannabis cultivars under different farming systems in HP. And also, to when you find out the germplasm and a strain of cannabis, then you register your seeds with the central authorities for registration. And when the seeds are registered, then we have the intellectual property right on our strains. Okay, so now our strains are winning the Cannabis World Cup there, which is happening in Las Vegas and in America. So this is something which we have to take control over. Okay, so we have already issued a research project which is going on right now for these activities, for registering our strains. After this, we want to set up seed banks where we will produce low THC seeds also, and high quality medicinal seeds also. Then a licensing structure, which have proposed. There'll be initial licensing and also on the yield, which will be there, so that the state also earns the revenue. Otherwise, they won't come out with the policy. So fees and taxes are important because duties are at every level, from licensing to manufacturing to extraction to to transportation, and all these activities the state will be earning duties. And the people who are providing working in these stages, from cultivation, manufacturing, producing, extracting, transporting, all this industry is being created right now in Himachal. It will provide so much employment. So that's the idea, to provide employment to the youth so that they do something different. Rather than peddling drugs, they can be transporting medical cannabis in vehicles, probably, and storing cannabis in warehouses, charging rents, providing cultivation. It's a very high intensive job. It is. There's a lot of risks involved. So you have high pay in this also, very high pay in this. We have seen industries do really, really well in America and in Canada and China. So cultivation cycle is another thing. Cultivation cycle is 70 to 80 days for industrial cannabis and 90 to 120 days for medicinal cannabis. So you can have at least like 2 to 3 cycles in an year. So you have 3 opportunities to make money from it. I have told Himachali people that they can grow it alongside apple to substitute their income, because it doesn't require other crops to be taken down. It can actually grow with other crops. So this is a very great advantage. Then of course, one thing I missed out when I was talking about plastic and other things, it also makes paper. And paper as an alternative for cutting trees, using paper from this is also environment measure which will come out. Then monitoring for industrial cannabis is very low intensity because of the content of THC in it. It is grown outside and it is monitored also in a low manner, because if you're just growing it for fiber, you can actually take the fiber out before the flower comes. So the monitoring for industrial cannabis will require less. And for medicinal one, it will be high. For industrial one, it will be low. Export potential of industrial is medium, and export potential, especially of the medicines which will be made from trichomes of Malana, that will be so high. A lot of revenue can come in from that, and probably it can compete also with the with charas. So this is it. I'll open it for questions. I have a lot of things to say. I didn't realize that all this material will take up so much time. I have not gone into the sections, and I have not gone into the amendments I have proposed to NDPS Act to the center. But since I have taken so much of your time, yeah, you can start with questions and whatever you want to ask.
Right. So first of all, Devenji, thank you so much. It's been really wonderful. This
Mhm.
understanding from you, since this is a very, how do I say, less spoken about topic. But again, since we've, it just did not make any sense to stop you anywhere in between with respect to time, since it's gems which we're getting right now of wisdom from you. So we'll directly jump to the question. Shantanu ji, do you want to ask your question? Please, you ask your question.
First of all, I actually want to thank you, your team, and Mr. Deven Khanna for all the effort you guys have put together to make this happen. It's a highly interesting topic which could change the future of India.
Shantanu ji, I'm not able to hear you properly. Is the
We
voice coming
certainly
to you
would
clearly?
like to understand what Mr. And we might have me to repeat. Am I audible now?
Yes, please ask.
Okay, sure. So my question to Deven is, as he said, look, for the industrial crop, the life cycle is about 90 days. For the industrial crop, it's about 120 days. So how have we, and like, let me just go back a little bit and just ask Deven, did you find any, first of all, thank you, Deven, for being here and making this happen. I want to congratulate you on all the efforts that you've been doing.
Thank
Secondly,
you.
in your research period, have you ever come across when China never banned cannabis and hemp for industrial use? Was there any point where you saw like 0.3% THC was the topic of discussion between international governments and industrial users and things like that?
Yes, so 0.3% was first introduced in the Agricultural Act of 2018 of America, and now it has been seconded by WHO also. So,
Yep.
but it is not mentioned in the NDPS Act. The
Okay.
issue which will arise, why I think it has been proposed
Just,
by
just,
somebody.
just, just 1 second. I think there is a little bit confusion. So it was actually first proposed in Canada, not even in the US. So the whole
Hmm.
in a 0.3% THC seed is a very big seed monopoly game, which I want to highlight as the founder of Indian Hemp Association that you could look at, because this is see, when you grow an industrial crop, you're saying the life cycle of the industrial crop is without the flower, so it's 108 like 90 days. Am I audible, right? I just want to make sure, like,
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
super. So when you go to the flowering and the medicine, that's when you extract the flower, right? So that's
Hmm.
how does it really make a difference when the farmer, if the weed that is growing on the side of the road, if the
Hmm.
flower is not extracted, it could be used for the rest of the thing.
Yes, yes.
So
We will
that
be
that
using the
so
flower.
yeah, so that becomes hemp, and the flower use becomes medicine. It is
Yes,
as
yes.
simple as that. It is as simple as that. And if we
We are doing
introduce
that.
this,
Shantanu ji,
they
I'm just having to cut you short, right? So again, so I understand that you come from Indian Hemp Association,
correct.
right? So it's really wonderful to know first of all that there are these associations. But again, understanding the fact that we've asked Mr. Khanna to be here for a limited period of time, right? And he's been kind enough to enlighten us further, and spare extra time. So we'll not use this as a platform for debate. But if there is a question, that question, and I open, and considering that there are other people also, and that there'll be questions. So if you have anything in particular, I think it's better that you take
Very
it up with
short
him
question. Sure.
capacity.
Why that
But
percentage
questions
of
only, no
yeah,
debates.
short question. Why that percentage of THC that limits the fortune and the future of farming hemp in India? Thank you.
Yes, so this is an extremely important question actually, and thank you for that. The thing is that till the time cannabis is in Schedule 1, so this is one of the biggest things which you have. I started the conversation with this, that we are between heroin and cocaine. Cocaine is number one, and we are number two, and heroin is number three. The cannabis plant, when you're speaking of, is on number two of Schedule 1, which invites Section 20 and all these other sections of the NDPS Act with the heavy punishment and enforcement requirements. So when you are cultivating cannabis outside in the open, and it doesn't have any THC limit. If it is normal, like medical cannabis, which doesn't have THC limit in our policy, if we have that for industrial cannabis, the amount of enforcement agencies which will be required to first monitor it, and also to check the stop of it, because the pollination of cannabis can spread. So right now, till the time it is if you want to get this removed, I was working really hard for point 3 to be removed. We want to keep it 1.5 till 1.5 and less than 1.5 and 1. That might be, okay, for the industry to have some space to grow. But the idea, when it was proposed in 2018 Agricultural Act in United States, as I was saying, was also the idea was this only, and it might have been proposed by a lawyer only, because only lawyer can think like that. That if you are arguing in court, somebody will ask you, how can you permit cultivation of cannabis, which is a Schedule 1 substance? Then answer, some person will come, a lawyer specifically, that sir, we are growing something which is not a narcotic compound, and hence it is not hit by this section. So something like that must have happened. But I can understand the idea of it. In Indian context, the idea is very simple. Till the time center removes it from Schedule 1, uh, if it has to be grown in open and everybody has to be given a license, or like it has to be given equitably to open to public, then if you are giving out so many licenses, you cannot give license for cannabis which has a higher level of THC around the state. Then it will be a nightmare for the narcotics department and the police department here, and they will oppose it. They won't let it come only. So that's the problem. They won't let it come. Even the courts won't let it come till the time it is in the Schedule 1. So that is a genuine issue which everybody has.
Okay, thank you. So
Alright.
if I can just raise my hand again and ask another question. Sorry.
Yeah, but Shanti, please, it will have to be a question only.
Sure. So same policy effort done by Uttarakhand, 0.3% THC, they have not grown. How do you see that changing in Himachal?
We have proposed 1.5% after discussing it with the industry. And I have not actually kept the limit. I have only said that in my draft, specifically, the draft says a low THC and high CBD plant, which is certified, or you have certified seeds of industrial cannabis from a recognized place, research institute. If you have industrial cannabis seeds, then you have to, but they are still asking me for a definition of it. They say we cannot leave it at low THC, but that is the best we can do. That we can say low THC, high CBD. We can say 15%, 10% CBD is there, and less than 1% or 1.5% THC is there. That's what we are trying to factor in. We have taken all the concerns of the industry. I have made the industry meet all the politicians here, just because of 0.3% debacle in Uttarakhand. I had that in mind, and I am trying to put all my efforts, but it will happen according. The main effort has to be put in the center by asking it to be removed from Schedule 1. Right now in 63rd conference in the United Nations, it was removed from Schedule 4,
Schedule 4, yeah.
which is equal to Schedule 1 of NDPS Act here. So
Correct.
when you recognize all these industrial and medicinal uses, you can actually remove it from Schedule 1. It is irrational. It is disproportionate. So that can happen, but that is the center for the center to do. And I have written a big page of amendments. I have not discussed it right now. I wanted to discuss it, but it has taken so much time to just introduce this topic. But this is a 4-5 hours of discussion where I can just take you through the proposed amendments, which we as a state are telling the center to do. If they do these amendments, then we can flourish as the industry is thinking. And also the courts also right now, the interpretation which I have given of purposive interpretation of NDPS Act, from illicit trafficking to the use, concentrating on the use and not the parts of the plant, all this has to be developed. Okay, these interpretations of NDPS Act has to be developed. Right now it is the opposite. It is a crime against society right now. That is the interpretation. We want an interpretation that the use of the cannabis plant will define whether it is industrial or medicinal, not THC or CBD or anything else. We are
absolutely, because there's so many compounds and there could be so many products that could be made out of the plant. So thank you so much, Deven. I really appreciate the effort. I could.
Please come to Himachal. Please come to Himachal with your association.
Oh, yes, I am certainly looking forward. Thank you so much. Yeah. See you soon with the hemp bag that I told you. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shantanu ji. It's really good to understand that there are associations in India working for the development of hemp. Now, again, so not technical, not getting too technical because obviously not everyone would have that kind of knowledge. So, two questions which I think I only want to pursue. And in the meanwhile, I request everyone and anyone else who has any questions. So, I'm taking two questions for everyone. But apart from that, if there is any other question which anyone wants to ask, very briefly, just a question, since we've already shot up way beyond the time for today. And since obviously Devenji has already said that, this is a topic which will need about 3 hours to conclude. So we'll obviously have to call him back again. So first question.
Absolutely good idea.
Yeah, thank you, Shantanu. So, all right. So first question is, so one word has been mentioned quite a number of times by you in the class today. That is CBD. What is CBD?
CBD is one of the compounds, one of the hundreds of compounds present in the cannabis plant. So cannabis plant, the flower of the cannabis plant has this trichomes. There's a crystal kind of looking things which contains all these compounds. Other parts of the plant also may be containing it, but CBD is cannabidiol, which is used for various diseases right now. This Epidiolex, which is an FDA approved drug in the United States, it has CBD mostly in it, and it is used for epilepsy, curing epilepsy. And CBD has a lot of other uses also. It is a wellness product. It is an anti-inflammatory product. It helps in anxiety. People use it for daily use, as in green tea they put drops of CBD, so that it is an antioxidant. So there's a huge market of CBD, both medical and as a food supplement, or as a product. So and it is not hit by NDPS Act, because it is not narcotic, it is not psychoactive compound. So there is a very huge focus on CBD right now, because it can be done in Himachal also. We will want people to come here and establish pure CBD extraction units from the buds. All the industry people should know that what I'm saying, that
Thank you.
We will be doing that, and we will be fighting also with the industry. Eventually, I'll tell you that all these things which right now we have a favorable government towards this issue. This has happened after 6-7 years of me being it was so difficult initially. You get professionally questioned, but if you are dealing with this issue, then you don't have any support. People are also not taking you seriously with when you talk about it. But once you argue the case in the court, then they realize that there's something serious. But you get credibility only when the government is doing something. Otherwise, it's just a waste of an effort. Right now, the government has formed the committee, and they were generous enough to take help from me, who has researched for so many years. So they had this in mind, and now they are getting proper insights into the industry and the problems of the industry, and also general about the plant also, like CBD specifically. Now everybody wants to have a CBD extraction unit here. And even the people outside, I've spoken to people in America, and I have seen how CBD industry is growing there. And people are specifically only dealing with CBD also. Most of the businesses I've spoken to, they're only dealing with CBD, and making good money from that, and providing good service to the populace. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. So just one final thing. I think so. Since you mentioned, the industrial aspect of it and how the industry is getting impacted, and with respect to raising opportunities for creation of jobs as well. So I just Googled, and it says that the cannabis market in the United States is estimated to be about $33.88 billion in 2023.
Yeah.
So is it true that the Indian market, on the other hand, is only about 100 crores, as you mentioned, I think?
Yes, it is. It's probably less than that, because right now we don't have a policy. Himachal will be the first state which will come out with a comprehensive policy. That's why I am really pushing for it. And Himachal is the only place where a good quality plant grows because of the air and the altitude. And, we already know that because of the black market, that this is the place where the best quality of plant is growing because of this geographical conditions. And this is a part of our policy also. Why we are making this policy is because of a specific geological location and advantage this state has even upon Uttarakhand. It is even better than Uttarakhand, because the quality of the plants which are growing here are better than Uttarakhand. They are 15-20 feet long plants which are growing here, and very pure sort of compounds can be extracted from that, as far as I have heard from the scientists which I have called here and interacted with. They have given me this data. I am not an expert in science of it, but I have taken data from scientists. And why the industry has not grown is, right now there is no policy in Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand introduced this 0.3% limit and didn't provide the seeds. It didn't have a policy for medicinal cannabis. It didn't. Madhya Pradesh doesn't have a policy for cultivation. Whatever industry is there right now, they are using roadside cannabis, or like just roadside means like low quality of cannabis from anywhere. It's not being grown in proper way. There is no cultivation licenses or security being provided anywhere in the state, and that's why there is no growth in the industry. There are very few players who have managed to do good, but otherwise the industry, there is a lot of injustice being done to the people who want to exercise their right of trade. So that is being restricted significantly because of the excessiveness of the NDPS Act. And on top of it, NDPS Act is even failing to achieve the objective which it soughts to achieve, that is to control the illicit trafficking of drugs, because we have data where this black market has grown by leaps and bounds. So there is failure at both the ends. Yeah.
I think it's absolutely clear with respect to how you've been able to very effectively showcase various facets of the problem, not just with respect to how people usually are able to perceive it with respect to the narcotic connection, but also with respect to the medicinal as well as the industrial aspect of it. And we understand, with whatever you've been able to enlighten us with, that a lot of research still is pending and needs to be done. And at the same time, there are very strong connotations with respect to how you've mentioned the cancer treatment part. I think that's very influential, and I think everyone who's going to be affected by such epilepsy, such disease, I'm sure that they would want to be curious. And I hope that there is some effective remedy. At the end of the day, people should get benefited from anything at all that can possibly benefit them. As far as
Yeah.
the environmental aspects also, I think it's really, and we just congratulate you first of all for championing this mission and for taking this research forward. We absolutely understand with you when you say that it's a very hard pressed topic, and even with respect to, I believe, the kind of I would say excitement in the class today as well has been, because everyone has just been curiously wanting to listen and understand as to all the aspects that you delved into today. Also, we understand that you're working on something for the future as well, and we wish you all the very best with that. Along with that, that you very clearly mentioned that it's something which deserves a 3 to 4 hour talk at least. So, and we've already gone beyond today's time. So, we look forward to hosting you again sometime soon next year, since
All
it's
right. Yeah,
just around
that'll
the
be
corner
great.
now.
When the policy comes out, probably you can have me
Yeah,
to
yeah,
explain
absolutely.
explain it.
And
Hmm.
and absolutely towards, no matter what happens, you'll have to come to the Supreme Court. So we are here with you, all whatever we have to do, right? The best thing is
Yeah.
all
I'm
advocates.
yeah.
Yeah, please,
I'm,
please.
I'm hoping nobody files some PIRs in Supreme Court. I want to just tell all the lawyers who think like that, because the thing is that when you file PIRs in Supreme Court, all the cases in other high courts where people are being represented, they're actually representing the accused or the sufferers or the victims. all those cases get into trouble because there's a petition filed in the Supreme Court and they have taken it up. And so, if the Supreme Court gives a bad decision, it impacts the High Courts. There should be a trend of going to the High Court first and then to the Supreme Court, because we don't
That's
want one.
actually,
Hmm. So
please,
that
please,
lawyers
please.
should please, all the lawyers should have this. The tendency of filing PILs in the Supreme Court is very dangerous, and it affects a lot of people, and a lot of things get, just buried without their voices being heard. So I was very worried that this case will also get, buried, because some of the people that time were trying to go to Supreme Court, but I convinced them to go to the High Court. But right now my case is over. But I'm just generally telling lawyers to go to the high courts first. You will get good judgments, and you have a second chance also if you fail. In Supreme Court you fail, then you will never get a chance, and the next benches will be constituted after 15-20 years. So a lot of issues get sidelined because of that. So this is for the lawyers. If
It's actually most vital what you said, because I think this is something which anyone who would be delving into the law of public interest litigation, obviously, looking at it just for the fame or name aspect of it, but who really are interested with the whatever issue that they're espousing, that they would understand. And I think this is something which is very sincerely brought to everyone's notice as well. And as a matter of fact, from what I remember, sometime back, Mr. Prashant Bhushan was also one of the faculties, and he was speaking about the law of public interest litigation itself. And I think there's a very similar thing that he had also advised to most people. But again, that's I think it's very well that you've mentioned this point as well. And along with that, I think but apart from that, also I understand that since you mentioned that all the judges who have had the opportunity of hearing your matter and passing quite favorable orders for that matter of
yeah,
fact, yeah, Mr. Karol as well, Mr. Suryakant as well, that they're all here in the Supreme Court right now. So I think that's
Subramanian,
yeah, I would
Subramanian also.
opinion also.
Mr.
So that's
Yeah, very, very good judges, and extremely they helped us, and they made it into a social action litigation. The dream of Bhagwati. It is a sorry, a dream of what was the jurist's name? Bakshi, PM Bakshi. No, so yeah, in Bhopal gas tragedy, that jurist that worked really hard. He introduced the concept of social action litigation. So it means that the courts and the government and the society and the stakeholders, they work in a non-adversarial way to get a solution to some pressing issues. So that this is a social action litigation. Upendra Bakshi introduced this concept. So he has actually taught me, and he's one of the greatest jurists of India, and everybody should read his articles and have the sense of fighting for rights and freedoms, in their daily life, apart from earning money from law, because it is actually a noble profession. So yeah, that has helped
one
me a
actually,
lot.
I'll just since we have this opportunity right now, I'll just take the moment to share one very interesting thing that we've been able to observe through this initiative. So I think this is the third year that we've been doing these classes. We have had the occasion and opportunity of hosting some of the brightest minds, legal minds from across India in practically all high court jurisdictions. And the one thing that
Mm.
we have been able to see, Devenji, is just how you have come across with a very unique sort of foray into your legal practice and your domain. Similarly, so many other people, along with judges as well, they're all very curious the essence of nobility of the legal profession. I think that is very strictly somewhere. I think it is rooted deep down into hardwired into all advocates. And I think
Mm.
we're absolutely grateful to you for that, and we're grateful to all the people who have made such small and yet very valuable contributions, not just to this initiative, but to, I think this is how society in itself has evolved. This is how it works, and this is the public in the public interest litigation. So I think we thank you as public for the kind of work that you're trying to do for so many people over there, because we understand that it's when we speak about, say, other parts of India, it may be
Mm.
something, the first thought which would come to a person's mind with respect to this law may be recreational use. But how you have demonstrated today, I think when it comes to the people who are native to Himachal or Uttarakhand, I think over there the scope absolutely it changes. It's a lifestyle, it's a life either you call it a problem or a boon, howsoever it may be. So we're deeply very grateful to you for giving us so much extra time as well. And
No issues, no problem.
So
if I could just add, Deven, I just want to thank you as well. And maybe this can come under a Special Commodities Act for the government of India, because this commodity can be so prime essential. India is an agro-based economy. So just look at it that way as well.
Shantanu ji,
Sure.
if the best part I think about how legislation works is that we all have an opportunity always of giving our views. The government, it will always give you an opportunity to suggest whatever your thoughts are with respect to any law which is being formulated. And I would suggest that at that point of time, since I understand that you've demonstrated that you have some very valuable contributions to make. I think in this respect you also seem to be very well versed with the international standards. So please just write something with respect to whatever thoughts. I think Devenji will also appreciate, since it may be something which may benefit him also constructively.
Yes.
So with respect to that, Devenji, we seek permission to end this class today. Deeply grateful to you for having had taken time out.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here, and it was wonderful just interacting with everybody. Thank you so much.
So kind of you. And we thank everyone who's participated in the class. Thank you so much. And we understand that this is a very unique topic, as it is. We hope, and we're quite sure, as a matter of fact, that there were certain very interesting learnings today for everyone. So with respect to that, we wish everyone a wonderful evening ahead. Wish you a very good night. Jai Hind.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon.